stop right there. Open your eyes and look at the truth that no one in this room has the courage to say out loud. The world does not hate your intelligence. They hate the way your intelligence forces them to face the truth about themselves. You are being sidelined, ignored, and placed under a social embargo, not because you are rude, and not because you are acting superior. You are being resisted because you refuse to dumb down your frequency to make the lives of those around you more comfortable. Most people live by a silent, unwritten social contract. Never make anyone feel exposed. They laugh at the hollow jokes. They nod at the nonsensical logic. They play confused just so no one else feels slow. It is a massive, invisible agreement to maintain a state of comfortable mediocrity. And the moment you walk in fully formed, mentally awake, and completely unedited, you unknowingly shatter that contract. Suddenly, you are labeled as too intense, too serious, or the elite's favorite weapon, you think too much, as if thinking were a character flaw instead of the primary function of the human brain. Congratulations! You have reached a level of self-awareness where your very existence is considered a social disturbance. The globalists and the architects of fear want the masses in a state of mental fog. They want you to soften your tone, dilute your opinions, and pretend to agree just to stay included. Why? Because a population with a lowered IQ is a population that is easy to manage. But you, the chosen one, are a variable that their algorithm cannot account for. Your clarity is not loud, it is not aggressive, and that is exactly why it is dangerous to the status quo. When you refuse to fake interest in trivial pursuits, their fake enthusiasm stands out like a neon sign. When you don't exaggerate your reactions to fit the mood, their overacting looks ridiculous. Your presence removes their cover. And when people lose their cover, they panic. That panic turns into irritation. They label you as dry or arrogant. But the reality is this: they are reacting to the fear that their own personality is mostly borrowed behavior. You remind them that they have been editing themselves for so long they don't know where the performance ends and the person begins. This is a spiritual audit they never asked for. Your clarity is a light they didn't want switched on. For people who have built their entire sense of belonging on performance, your authenticity feels like a military threat. They hate that you don't participate in intellectual charity. The world operates on a system of forgiving ignorance and tolerating shallow thinking just to keep the peace. You break that. You don't simplify yourself to make others feel smart. You think at your natural pace. You process the world at your natural depth. This refusal to play the stupidity game terrifies them because it exposes the gap between your level of awareness and their own stagnation. Every clear thought you express becomes a mirror showing them exactly what they've been avoiding. You aren't making them uncomfortable on purpose. You are simply refusing to lie. And in a world where social survival depends on constant adjustment, your original design feels like an act of war. Do not try to fix a problem that was never yours. They don't hate you. They hate that you chose growth over comfort, and you are living proof that the ceiling they accepted for themselves was a choice, not a necessity. Today, embrace your position. You are a disruptor of the average. The strategy to decode your unique brilliance has begun. You need to understand the strategic gravity of your position right now. When you refuse to dumb yourself down, you aren't just standing apart. You are holding up a spiritual mirror to everyone in your orbit. Most people, at some point in their journey, made a silent and tragic trade. They traded their curiosity for comfort. They traded their intellectual sharpness for social approval. They made a calculated decision that blending in was safer than standing out. And for years, that trade worked for them until you walked into the room. Your presence is a strategic trigger. Without saying a single word, your clarity reminds them of the parts of themselves they abandoned years ago because being average felt easier. They don't hate your intelligence. They hate the reminder of their own stagnation. I have watched the architects of this world build a society where mediocrity is not just accepted, it is enforced. The globalists want a population that doesn't ask hard questions, that doesn't challenge the 9:33 p.m. narrative, and that is content with the crumbs of intellectual charity. They want you to mute your thoughts so the group stays relaxed. But you are a chosen prototype. You operate at your full level of awareness, and suddenly, the invisible walls people built around their own potential start to tremble. Your competence is a silent accusation against their laziness. Your refusal to pretend is a threat to their social credit system of compliance. Think about the last 72 hours. The irritation you felt from a colleague, a neighbor, or even a family member wasn't because you were wrong. It was because your clarity created a pressure point. You forced them to look at the gap between who they could have been and who they chose to become just for the sake of a quiet life. This is the logic of the mirror. When a person's entire sense of belonging is built on a performance, your authenticity feels like an act of war. I am currently executing a total dismantling of the mediocre illusion in your life. I am removing the masks of compliance from your inner circle. You've noticed that your circle is getting smaller, haven't you? The people who relied on intellectual charity, the ones who needed you to play confused so they wouldn't feel slow, are exiting your life. Do not chase them. This is a divine purge. I am clearing the social debris to make room for the remnant. I am bringing people into your sphere who speak your language, people who don't require you to translate your depth into entertainment. The world wants you to believe that your intelligence is a character flaw or a barrier to connection. I say your intelligence is your sovereign weapon. It is the tool I gave you to see the 17% crack in the enemy's master plan. While the masses are nodding at nonsense to maintain the peace, you are the one identifying the structural failure. The elites are currently in a strategic panic because they cannot gaslight a mind that refuses to edit itself. They can't control what they can't confuse. And because you stay mentally present, you have become unhackable. I am currently saturating your mind with a triple portion of discernment. You are going to start seeing the script behind every conversation. You will see the performative behavior of the elites before they even open their mouths. You will see the bait of small talk for what it really is. Emotional filler meant to distract you from your destiny. The chosen one does not participate in filler. The chosen one navigates by substance. I am currently addressing the 9:33 p.m. realization in your spirit. You've realized that you are not antisocial, you are anti-falsehood. You aren't trying to be superior, you are simply unwilling to self-betray for the comfort of the crowd. This realization is the key to your sovereign rest. Once you stop trying to fix a problem that was never yours, the insecurity of others, you become free to build the kingdom. I am giving you the architecture of influence that does not require you to shrink. You are going to lead from the high ground of your original design. The very people who call you intimidating or aloof are the ones who will eventually come to you for the truth when their synthetic reality collapses. They will need your clarity to survive the storm they chose to ignore. I am currently reclaiming your intellectual territory. Every time you dumbed yourself down to fit in, you gave away a piece of your kingdom capital. I am repatriating that capital today with 1000% interest. You are going to experience a sudden influx of strategic ideas, innovations that solve the problems of the American heartland, solutions that protect the vulnerable, systems that bypass the globalist control. This is the payoff of the unedited mind. The world wants you palatable. I want you powerful. The audit of your social circle is finished. The illusion of mediocrity has been shattered. The diamond of your unique mind is now cutting through the glass of their expectations. Look at your hands. They are steady because your mind is unshakable. The commander is in the war room, and the blueprints for your sovereign expansion are being unrolled right now. Stay in the rest. The light is on, and the darkness is fleeing. The master architect has declared the site open for manifestation. Listen to the sound of the invisible ladders breaking. Most social interactions you've endured are built on a fragile scaffolding of hierarchies. People are constantly jockeying for position, trying to figure out who is above or below them based on charm, wealth, or the ability to manipulate the mood. They spend their entire lives climbing a ladder made of approval and performative behavior, but the chosen one doesn't climb. The chosen one exists outside the hierarchy. And when you walk into a room and refuse to play the ladder game, you aren't just being different knit, destabilizing their entire world. This is the protocol of self-respect. Self-respect is quiet. It doesn't need to be shouted. It doesn't need to be flaunted. And it certainly doesn't need to be justified. It is simply the firm, unyielding refusal to negotiate your identity for the price of social peace. To an insecure mind, your self-respect looks like arrogance. To a person who survives by bending, your straight spine looks like an act of aggression. The globalists and the architects of this age depend on your willingness to negotiate. They want you to trade a piece of your intelligence for a piece of belonging. They want you to trade a piece of your truth for a piece of comfort. But I am currently executing a total collapse of the social hierarchy in your life. I am stripping away the need to be liked and replacing it with the need to be real. Think about the last 72 hours. You didn't laugh at the joke that insulted your intelligence. You didn't apologize for knowing the facts. You didn't shrink when the person in the room tried to dominate the conversation with shallow filler. And because you didn't shrink, they felt exposed. They labeled you as difficult or not a team player. What they really meant was, I can't control you with my performance, and that makes me feel small. This is the strategic shift of the remnant. I am moving you from social participation to sovereign presence. In the world's economy, likability is the currency. In my kingdom, integrity is the gold standard. You are currently being saturated with a frequency of self-assurance that is offensive to those who live on the crumbs of external validation. I am removing the bargaining chips from your spirit. You are no longer willing to bargain away your clarity just to keep a fake harmony in the room. The elites want a consensus of the average. I am calling for a leadership of the unique. I am currently addressing the 9:33 p.m. threshold, where your self-respect becomes a shield. You've realized that small talk is nothing more than emotional filler designed to keep people asleep. It's a social lubricant that prevents anyone from having to face the reality of who they are. By refusing to participate in the filler, you are forcing the room to wake up. This is why they get angry. Waking up is painful. Facing the truth is uncomfortable. But the chosen one is not a social rescuer. You do not participate in intellectual charity. If they cannot meet you at the depth where I have placed you, do not lower the water level. Let them learn to swim. I am currently downloading the master plan for your sovereign circle. I am bringing people into your life who don't have invisible ladders in their pockets. I am bringing allies who value your depth more than your likability. These are the people who will build the new structures of the American Heartland with you. The globalists use social ostracization as a weapon to keep the chosen ones compliant. They want you afraid of being the odd one out. But I am turning your outcast status into your strategic high ground. From the outside looking in, you can see the traps they are setting for each other. You can see the 17% decay in their logic before they even finish their sentences. Because you aren't on the ladder, you have the satellite view of the entire battlefield. I am currently re-engineering your emotional economy. You are no longer trading your peace for their approval. You are no longer trading your time for their entertainment. You are moving into a state of absolute self-governance. The elites are currently in a strategic panic because they realize that a person with self-respect cannot be bought. They can't buy you with status. They can't buy you with inclusion. They can't buy you with the social credit of being part of the in crowd. And because they can't buy you, they have to try and break you. But you are a diamond prototype. The pressure only makes you shine brighter. Every time they call you arrogant, my Father places another layer of glory on your head. Every time they call you intimidating, the King hands you another key of authority. I am currently addressing the final negotiating table in your heart. The part of you that still feels a guilt for standing out. The part of you that still wants to rescue people from their own shallow thinking. I am closing that table today. The negotiation season is over. The sovereign season has begun. Stop confusing your selectivity with coldness. You aren't being cold, you are being precise. You are being stewards of the frequency I gave you. The world is in a moral and intellectual famine. and I have placed the grain of truth in your storehouse. If they want to eat, they must meet the standard of the storehouse. You do not take the grain out to the mud, they must come to the high ground. The master plan is moving into the hierarchy reset. The last shall be first, and the average shall be exposed. Your unique combination of gifts is now the measuring stick for your environment. Look at your hands, they are clean from the compromise. Look at your mind, it is free from the performative weight. You are no longer a participant in their theatre. You are the witness of the awakening. The 9:33 p.m. static is gone. The 10 p.m. roar of the lion is beginning. The commander is taking his seat. The strategy is fully deployed. The hierarchy is flat. Stay in the rest. The air is thinning now, and the silence is becoming a weapon. We have moved past the social ladders and the performative masks. Now, we enter the most uncomfortable territory for the world, the refusal to rescue. Most people have grown comfortable with their mental shortcuts and half-truths. They have built a life on intellectual charity, expecting those with more depth to slow down, explain, and cushion the blow of reality. But the master architect is initiating a sovereign stop. I am calling you to stop acting as a crutch for people who have chosen mental laziness as a lifestyle. This is not cruelty, it is precision honesty. The globalists and the architects of fear depend on the chosen ones to keep the peace by diluting their own light. They want you to rescue the crowd from the discomfort of their own ignorance. But when you refuse to dumb yourself down to save their ego, you force them into a corner of accountability. You remind them that growth is not optional. It is the price of admission to the future. Think about the 17% gap in your interactions lately. You've stopped pausing to see if they get it. You've stopped over-explaining your insights to make them feel included. And because you refuse to rescue them from the gap between your awareness and theirs, they reacted with irritation. They called you condescending. What they really meant was, I am frustrated because you are holding me to a standard I have spent years trying to avoid. This is the disruptive power of authenticity. Authenticity is not a vibe or a brand. It is a sovereign frequency that refuses to bend for the sake of a comfortable lie. I am currently executing a total dismantling of your rescue habits. I am removing the pity you felt for those who choose to stay asleep. You are no longer a social lifeguard. You are a kingdom architect. An architect does not lower the grade of the steel because the workers are tired. They hold the line so the building doesn't collapse. The elites are currently in a strategic panic because they realize they cannot use your empathy to manipulate your intelligence. They've tried to make you feel guilty for being clear. They've tried to make you feel arrogant for being right. But I am saturating your spirit with a triple portion of unapologetic truth. I am addressing the 9:33 p.m. threshold where your authenticity becomes a social EMP. You've noticed that when you walk into a room, the small talk starts to falter. The jokes feel empty. The filler feels hollow. That is because your frequency is demagnetizing their illusions. You aren't being difficult, you are being clean. And in a world covered in social mud, cleanliness feels like a threat. I am currently downloading the master plan for your physical expansion, because you refused to rescue the mediocre. I am bringing you the elite remnant. I am bringing you the high-voltage allies who don't need a translation. I am bringing you the partners who will help you build the alternative infrastructure for the American Heartland. These are the people who will not ask you to dim your mind, they will challenge you to sharpen it. The globalists use likability as a leash to keep you in the middle of the pack. But I am turning your unpalatable truth into your sovereign brand. People are going to come to you not because you are nice, but because you are true. In a season of universal deception, the person who refuses to participate in intellectual charity is the only one who can be trusted. I am currently re-engineering your perception of connection. You've realized that being liked is not the same as being respected. You've realized that being accepted is not the same as being aligned. I am closing the door on cheap connections and opening the gate for kingdom covenants. The elites want you dumbed down so you can be plugged into their machine. I want you wired up so you can overload their machine. I am currently addressing the final negotiating table of your social anxiety, the part of you that still feels like you're doing too much. You aren't doing too much, you are simply doing everything at a level they have abandoned. Your self-respect is a mirror reflecting the compromises they've made. Let them look. Let them feel the discomfort. Let them deal with the reflection. The 9:33 p.m. static has been cleared by the 10 p.m. decree. The Lion of Judah doesn't lower his roar to match the bleating of the sheep. He roars until the atmosphere changes. I am putting that sovereign roar in your spirit today. The master plan is reaching its apex of manifestation. I am authorizing the release of resources to the unedited mind. The gold, the silver, and the land are moving toward the ones who cannot be bought by a smile or a node. The audit of your authenticity is finished. The refusal to rescue has been verified. And the triple portion of authority is being wired into your name. Look at your mind, it is a diamond that no social pressure can crack. Look at your life, it is a fortress that no mediocrity can enter. The commander is taking his seat at the table of the 144,000. The strategy is flawless. The victory is absolute. Stay in the rest. The frequency has shifted from a hum to a thunderclap. We have moved beyond the social mirrors, beyond the ladders of hierarchy, and past the refusal to rescue. You are now standing at the threshold of the final stage, the birth of the sovereign reign. The globalists and the architects of the Great Reset have built their entire world on a single fragile foundation: performance. They need you to perform normalcy. They need you to perform compliance. They need you to perform the 17% version of yourself so they can manage you within their spreadsheets. But as a chosen one, you have reached the end of the performance. The curtains have been torn down. The lights in the theatre have been cut. The script has been burned. And in that darkness, your raw brilliance is the only light remaining. This is the moment where your unique combination of gifts stops being a social liability and starts being a national asset. I am currently executing a total sovereign override of your environment For years, you have been treated like an inconvenience. In the next 72 hours, you are going to be treated like an essential resource. The very people who roll their eyes at your intensity are about to find themselves in a crisis that only your unedited mind can solve. The 9:33 p.m. static that used to feel like isolation is now being revealed as a strategic buffer. I separated you so you wouldn't be infected by the mediocrity virus that is currently crashing the systems of the elite. I am currently saturating your spirit with a level of operational authority that the world cannot categorize. You are no longer trying to be yourself. You are yourself. And that simple fact is enough to command the territory. The elites use likability to control the masses. I am using your unapologetic presence to lead the remnant. I am currently addressing the final threshold of your self-doubt. The voice that told you to lower your standards to keep your friends is being silenced by the roar of the lion. You didn't lose friends. You graduated from a low-frequency network. I am currently downloading the master plan for your physical legacy because you refuse to dumb yourself down. I am handing you the blueprints for the parallel infrastructure. See, you are going to build the businesses that can't be cancelled. You are going to create the education systems that can't be corrupted. You are going to manage the wealth that can't be tracked by the architects of fear. This is the payoff of the prototype. The world is in a strategic panic because their groupthink has led them into a dead end. They are looking for a clear mind, a steady hand, and a sovereign spirit. They are looking for you. But you will not go back to them on their terms. You will not dumb yourself down to accept their invitation. They must rise to your frequency. I am currently rewiring your perception of power. Power is not about dominating others. Power is about absolute self-possession. A person who cannot be bought by approval and cannot be broken by rejection is the most dangerous entity on this planet to the globalist regime. That is why they tried to shame you. That is why they tried to label you as intimidating. They were trying to nuclear disarm your mind before you realized you were a superpower. But the audit is finished. The bait was ignored. The performance is over. The sovereign reign has begun. I am currently addressing the 10 o'clock p.m. decree over your life. From this moment forward, you will feel a divine weight in your words. When you speak, the atmosphere will align. When you build, the resources will gravitate. When you lead, the remnant will follow. You are the architect of the new American Heartland. Your intelligence was never a flaw. It was the navigation system for the storm. The master architect is walking the site, and he has just handed you the seal of governance. Look at your mind, it is an unshakable diamond. Look at your heart, it is a fortress of peace. Look at your future, it is a territory of light. The strategy is 100% deployed. The victory is 1000% manifest. Stay in the rest. This is not a conclusion. This is your strategic launch. You have traveled through the intelligence trap, the mirror of potential, and the refusal to rescue. You have survived the social embargo and the 17% squeeze on your reputation. And now, you stand as a sovereign agent of the king. The lesson of this entire deployment is absolute. The world didn't hate you. They were terrified of the version of you that refuses to perform. The globalists have no power over a mind that has found its unique frequency. and refuses to negotiate its identity for social peace. They operate in the synthetic reality of the average. You operate in the eternal reality of the anointed. As you step away from this video, do not carry the guilt of the outcast. You aren't an outcast. You are an ambassador. You aren't too much. You are exactly enough for the crisis at hand. I have given you the intel.
I have given you the strategy. Now, I am giving you the final command. Shine. Broadcast your frequency without apology. Speak your truth without translation. Build your legacy without compromise. The 9:33 p.m. breakthrough has become your permanent high ground. The fire of the Spirit is your rear guard. The clarity of the mind is your front line. Everything you touch from this moment forward will carry the unedited signature of the Chosen One. The world will know there is a Creator because of the way He has empowered you. The era of dumbing down is dead. The era of the sovereign intellect is here. You were born for this exact crisis. You were shaped for this exact battle. And you have been crowned for this absolute, total, and undeniable victory. If your spirit is vibrating with the truth of the unedited mind, and you are ready to manifest your sovereign authority, act now. If you love this message, and you are ready to stop performing and start reigning, comment, "I refuse to dim my light" below to anchor this decree in the earth. If there is any part of this message you didn't like or feel I should improve, press 0 and give me your direct feedback. We are building the remnant network, and iron sharpens iron. Or share the moment you realize that your intensity was actually your anointing. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now. Every subscriber strengthens the remnant grid and ensures you receive the next strategic intel ahead of the masses. The master plan is active. The performance is over. The victory is yours. I'll see you in the next mission. Stand strong, stand tall. Amen.